The Constitution of India treats all citizens of India as equal, and women's rights are upheld through the fundamental rights. The principle of gender equality enshrined in the Indian Constitution in its preamble, fundamental rights, fundamental duties and directive principles. The Constitution not only guarantees equality to women, but also empowers the state to adopt measures of positive discrimination in favor of women. The ancient Greek philosopher Heraclitus once said, and I quote, "The only constant in life is change. The only thing that is permanent in this world is change." Gradually, the society started changing for the better, and women started breaking the glass ceiling by making an entry into politics, government services, research, science and technology, engineering and law. With the emergence of modern corporate sector, women started giving a tough competition to men by entry into the corporate world. Rani of Jhansi, Rani Lakshmibai, Begum Hazrat Mahal, Savitribai Phule, Sarojini Naidu, Razia Sultan, Ahalyabai Holkar, Aruna Asaf Ali are some of the women who reached greater echelons and became an inspiration and role model for women of this generation. Following a Supreme Court ruling in 2020 that deemed a blanket restriction on women officer access to permanent commissioner as discriminatory and a violation of their fundamental right to equality, the Indian Army started granting permanent commission to women officers by allowing them to serve until retirement, which is a welcome step. Through this landmark judgment, the Supreme Court addressed gender-based discrimination in the defense services. The 2005 amendment to Hindu Succession Act gave equal right to Hindu women in the co-parcenary property also by treating them as co-parceners. And I am lucky to be a part of that judgment which dealt with this. India is one of the few countries in the world where maximum laws have been passed to protect the rights of women. Through a series of landmark judgments, the Supreme Court has consistently upheld the principles of equality, dignity and non-discrimination, addressing critical issues such as women's right to property, women's workplace rights, personal autonomy, protection from violence and access to justice. These judgments have not only shaped the legal landscape, but have also strengthened the social fabric by ensuring a more inclusive and equitable future for women. The Dowry Prohibition Act 1961, the Equal Remuneration Act 1976, the Prohibition of Child Marriage Act 2006, the Sexual Exploitation of Women at Workplace Act 2013, etc., are some of the noteworthy legislations passed by the Parliament to empower women with legal rights. The Supreme Court also interpreted the provisions of Protection of Women from Domestic Violation Act 2005 to ensure that women in domestic relationships are adequately protected even after the death of their spouses. The Vishaka guidelines laid down by the Supreme Court in 1977 put the onus on the employers to provide a safe working environment for women. In a landmark judgment delivered in 86, Mary Roy's case, the Supreme Court held that women were entitled to an equal share in their father's property. This judgment significantly advanced property rights for women, reinforcing the principles of gender equality and non-discrimination. The Women's Reservation Bill 2023, I am sure you must have discussed about this bill yesterday and today, also known as Nari Shakti Bandhan Adhiniyam is a historic legislation culminating into Women's Reservation Act 2023. The bill aims to reserve 1/3 of the seats in the Lok Sabha, state legislative assemblies and Delhi Legislative Assembly for women. This bill was passed by the Parliament in December 2023. The reservation will be implemented after the completion of the delimitation process and census. The historic legislation is expected to achieve 33% representation by women in Parliament and yield positive outcomes for women's empowerment. At the time of the bill's passage, only 14% of the Lok Sabha legislators were women, only 14%. While that represents India's highest proportion since independence, it was far below the global average of 26.5%. Amongst the state legislative assemblies, Chhattisgarh has the highest level of women legislatures at 18%, while Himachal Pradesh has just one woman legislator and Mizoram has none. The new legislation requires that in each election, 33% of the seats in assemblies and the Lok Sabha be assigned for only female candidates. This law will now enable greater participation of women in policy making and equitable governance at the state and national level. Through this historic legislation, India sent a clear message to the world that the path to gender equality is not only essential but attainable. Similar legislation has been enacted in 64 other countries, ranging from Belgium to Rwanda. Rwanda's 2003 constitution set a 30% quota for women in elected positions, and 10 years later, the country became world's leader for gender equality in politics, with women occupying 64% of the parliamentary seats. In terms of women's participation in the parliament at the global level, I am sorry, India is ranked 148 among 193 countries, ranked 31st among 47 Asian countries, and 5th amongst 8 SAARC countries. This clearly shows that India is lagging behind in empowerment of women politically. Gender equality and women empowerment is the key for a country's sustainable development. Therefore, women should be encouraged to play an active role in politics. There is no better tool for the development of women than empowerment, and education is a very powerful weapon for women empowerment that makes them mentally strong and powerful. Before concluding, I would like to quote the following Sanskrit shloka, which is apt for the occasion. Right? Atulam tatra tatteja sarvadeva sharirajam ekasta tadahonnari vyapa lokatrayam tvisha. Meaning, the incomparable radiance that was born from all gods, the incomparable radiance that was born from all gods and pervaded 3 worlds came to one place and took in the form of a woman. I thank the organizers for having invited me to be a part of this valedictory session of this prestigious national conference of the Committee on Empowerment of Women. అందరికి ధన్యవాదాలు. జై హింద్.